and to feel a certain way. Good evening. Good evening. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Yes, we got the sound effects. All right, in this Friday night. We will be joined shortly by Doc. And right now we have myself and we have the tall slim chocolate rocking out his
There it
fresh
is.
set of
Say it
locks.
again. Say it
The
again.
tall slim chocolate. How you doing, Daryl?
uh, I'm doing good. How's everybody? Well, how are you doing this week?
This week I'm good. No complaints. Busy.
Gotcha.
I just want the busy to transact into something different, but I gotta embrace the journey because the journey is where the prize is at.
There it is. And
Yeah,
you got to go on the journey to get to the prize, right?
you really do. You really do. I think that's a thing that a lot of people miss. They be like, I just want results.
Right.
Or I want the results that they got. And
Right.
you can get the results that they got and much greater depending on what the creator has in store for you, but you gotta endure whatever the journey looks like in the meanwhile.
Right.
Yeah, that part. That kind of leads into like what we're gonna be talking about this evening, kind of breaking up with stuff that's not serving you or working, or
Hmm.
you just
Hmm.
kind of grew up with it and you don't understand why you can't get the different result that you're looking for.
Right.
I didn't even do that on purpose, Daryl. Just kind of flowed.
Look at that.
Look at that. So, if you were joining us this week or you're in the group and you have access to the pregame conversation, then you're already aware what we're talking about. And last week we dived into like relationship tropes and like how we live in societal expectations, but don't realize how all of those roles don't do us right or don't serve us right. And so we found that it might be helpful to take a different spin at it, not necessarily falling into the tropes, but looking at how are you living in survival mode on a day-to-day basis and how that affects your relationships. And one of the things that stood out to me this week in thinking about how we will, kind of deal with this is I'm not sure if it was in the green room because our green room is all the way live after we have a show, or if it was live in here in the conversation. And Daryl, you actually asked the question about professionals who work in helping fields where they aligned with their profession because of their survival mode, type lifestyle. You didn't say it exactly like that,
Right.
but that was pretty much like the gist. And we
That's the
had
gist of it. Yeah.
yeah, and it was a lot of alignment with that. I mean, you did ask on live because you asked, and Doc thought that she wasn't gonna have to answer the question.
Right.
That part. Um, so we here at Relationship Flow, we talk about everything, or sip and chat. We talk about everything relationships, and so when we're speaking, we're talking about the individual, but we're talking about everything outside of it that kind of influences it as well. So we welcome your contributions to this conversation, whether you're here with us live and or on the replay. We appreciate your voice, and we'll come back to the comments and give you some love no matter which page you are following us from. So, Daryl, how you want to jump in here and talking about like the survival mode of relationships, and maybe even no, just defining it first. I was going to go a little too
Right. Yeah. But I said, let's start with educating the people what is survival mode.
much. So go ahead, rock it out.
Well, I mean, I've seen some different things. And one that I had that I lost. Where's it at? I'm sorry. Got to go to the notes.
Gotta go. Yes,
Which
you
page
always
is?
got your notes and your facts and data, which is
Yes.
helpful because whereas we mess with you doing that, there are many other people who actually value that
Right.
perspective.
Survival mode, basic, the basic needs of trust is damaged or destroyed.
Hmm.
Um, Usually something that we need was either we learned it in a perverted way or not the intended way, and we in turn lived that way through the lens of however we were brought up.
Correct. I'm going to say hello to the person who has said hello to us, Facebook user.
Who are
Yeah,
you? Say
yeah,
your
no,
name.
we want to say your name. So if you would like for us to acknowledge you on a essence of personalness, there's something above this video that gives you permission to let us see your name with StreamYard. So they also commented and said trauma begins to fester. And so so they mentioned trauma begins to fester, which is accurate. A lot of times people don't, that now the word trauma, especially coming out of 2020, I never like to say a public health concern because we're still in the midst of several public health concerns, pandemics or whatever. Hey, Icy Lee, congratulations on your graduation tomorrow. I'm so proud of you as your former mentor. Well, I guess I'm still your mentor, but your former professor.
Congratulations.
Yes. That trauma is a word that's thrown around a lot and oftentimes excuse me,
God bless
misinterpreted.
you.
Thank you. And misinterpreted. And sometimes people want to put it on like a jacket and use it when it's convenient, which is kind of like playing the victim in certain situations. And they don't realize that that's a part of survival mode when they do that, that aspect of their trauma reliving itself on a day-to-day basis, that they found a coping skill that works to get what they want. We were just talking about how people don't want to go through the journey of healing. They just want the end result. But the healing is going through those weeds and figuring stuff out. Otherwise, you're going to have issues, like you were saying, of trust. You're going to feel like you're getting hurt all the time. And, just always positioned in the way that's not helpful overall. That makes sense?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I was like, I don't want to go on a long dyad. I've been known to do that. It's not intentional. So sometimes in the survival mode, we end up getting into relationships that mirror some of these maybe unhealthy boundaries or unhealthy characteristics or things that don't make us excel and be our best version of ourselves. But to break that cycle is usually often hard because we're doing what we know, we're doing what's comfortable. And when we do decide to do that, it's like a sacrifice of self. And we feel guilty, like about it. I know I had it was a cousin reached out to me and was saying, how they are so extended, like in doing all of these different things for themselves. And they were celebrating the opportunity of having a massage, I guess like this weekend or whatever. But to even schedule the massage was a difficult thing because she was like, when I get out the massage, I got to go get the kids. I got to go do this. Like all of these role responsibilities. And I was saying to her, I said, well, how about when you get the massage, you delegate other people to do the other things so that you can really fully enjoy what that massage is supposed to bring to you. Because if you get up from the massage table and just go back to what you were doing, you're still activating that survival mode.
Right. And we have to say, survival mode itself is something that it was part of us, right? Because it serves a purpose. But when it's used all the time, that's a problem. When you're living in survival mode, that becomes the problem. So she's living in survival mode where even trying to do something for herself, it isn't allowed to get the effect due to she's still worrying about this. So she can't shut it off. So she's not living, she's surviving at that point.
Right. And I know I often will greet people and say, they be like, how are you doing? I'm like, I'm breathing on schedule. And that really could still be in survival mode, because if you're suffering in silence and not really reaching out and letting people know what type of help or support or the way that you would want them to, kind of show up in your life, then
Right.
it's like you're still, you're keeping a part of you to yourself and not allowing the other person to know the full version because you want to protect them in some particular way.
Well, I think in you thinking you're protecting them, you're actually causing more problems, because if you're not being transparent, especially in a relationship, it really starts to cause problems, right? Because if you're
Mm-hmm.
going through something, I don't know what it is,
Mm-hmm.
then I could be doing things to help exacerbate, or I could be doing things that I don't know it's happening. I can't help, because I don't know. So it could really drive a wedge, and right, I see. It becomes a thing where you could be separating each other, because you're not on the same one accord at that point. You're not there with each other, because one person is holding back. So that person that's in survival mode could really, you know, not allowing the other person in could really be detrimental to that relationship.
And when we say that and we think about how it plays out in relationships, of course, unfortunately, the first example that comes to my mind is so extreme. So I'm going to ask you, what kind of examples do you have in regards to where this kind of breaks up the best communication in a relationship when the person, not necessarily you, but people when a person is not being honest with saying, what they're experiencing that you are exacerbating, or they probably don't even know that what you're doing is making it worse.
I would just think that anytime that lack of communication, right? Just the fact that, well, remember, so if a big part of being in survival mode is lacking trust, or trust being destroyed, or not being, so that means you're not really trusting that person with giving them the even attempt to help you. Like, they can't help me, I'm not going to give them this information. I'm going to do it myself, right? Because they can't help me anyway. So we're pushing them out. We're pushing the other person out. And you're like I said, you're almost normalizing or creating a culture in your behavior where I'm like, oh, well, she does it anyway. She got it. So then eventually what happens is you're like, well, I do everything. Well, because you do everything.
Right.
You mean this is how you set it up to do everything. I'm comfortable with you doing everything because it's been going on. So then there's a problem. Now she's even more. It's like, well, you're not there for me, and I'm doing everything, and it's because how you kind of set it up. So the relationship now is in real trouble because we're operating on different accords at this point. We're not singing the same song, not even the same note,
not even the same beat.
right.
Not even the same beat. And so they gave me a lesser an actual example, but one that's not as extreme as the first one that came to my mind. Is that the couple that I was mentioning in the green room? I know I mentioned that in the green room, that that the husband is accustomed to being the provider, and when he's not able to, for whatever reason, the wife makes it happen. And the being able to communicate what happens between the two of them when his finances may fall short, he doesn't feel open that he can communicate, like, listen, I'm falling short. But then he knows that if he says something to her, she's just going to make it happen. And on her side, she's like, but I always make it happen. And nobody ever gives me a break. You say you need a break, you need to go talk, you need to go, do all of these different things. She said, but when do I get a break? Because whenever you fall short, I'm able to jump in. Yeah, and it's like that mutual couples, like, they have language or a vibe and a beat, even though it's still two different songs that's working, but it's functioning out of survival mode. And he's trying not to go back to the streets. Like, he knows how he can get it resolved, but this 9-to-5 version of his employment is not meeting every responsibility that he has.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because if she can get it, I don't know why you wouldn't have a thing like, well, let's help out and we could do it together. Instead of just trying to pick up the pieces when I fall. And then how does she know that he falls? Because he doesn't really tell her or she just knows, like, oh, these bills ain't paid, I'm gonna pay it? Like, how does that work?
Well, with the bills, of course, that comes out like, okay, the due date is here, and it just, he's not doing what he needs, not so much what he needs to do. He's not being responsible. He's like, okay, we got to delay it. But on the other side, they're arguing more. It's just really unsettling in the house, or he's doing stuff that's triggering her for past behaviors and past violations, and they just fall into the dance or the cycle of doing what it was that they were doing. But that communication becomes their barrier, because to say I don't have it, or to say that I need help, or to say I need a break, it's not balanced between the two of them. So then therefore they just go into survival mode until something breaks, that they're able to resolve whatever's going on.
And it's wonder, I wonder where he get his ideology that he has to do it, and then when he can't do it or he's not able to do it at that time, why he feels so bad about it. See, that's an issue in itself. Like, that's a very toxic way of thinking, in the sense, like, to the point where he can't just like, look, I'm gonna be a little short, and what can we do? Instead of just doing that before we get to the problem, he's hiding it or doing whatever, and then she got to pick up the pieces, and that would be an issue, I think, for anyone, where like, here I go, I gotta, it's 12 o'clock tomorrow, I gotta find a way to get it done. That would be a problem. But it's almost like they are so used to living this way that it's cool. It's like I said, normalized, because you could just say, hey, I'm gonna need help. And that may alleviate a lot of stress, a lot of problems, and maybe work to find a way to get it done. But waiting till after there's a problem, to not even say there's a problem, is a problem. That's a real problem.
Right. And it's funny how certain things kind of manifest, of thinking about, just how this whole framework came out in their conversation, trying to learn how to communicate, is that she wanted flowers, and she felt like flowers don't cost more than $5 or possibly $2. And he's like, but I want a certain type of flower to give you that may cost $20.
What flower she getting for $2? The neighbors pick flowers. What are we talking about here?
I think Walmart might have some specials sometimes with their flowers. I don't know.
She bugging. Ain't no $2 flowers.
She tried to justify it that way, though. Like, you could have got me $2 flowers instead of the $25 flowers. But then that's coming right off of Mother's Day, where he needed to pay his car note, and he couldn't pay he's like, okay, I gotta pay the car note, but then I also need to make sure that she has Mother's Day, and it's not stretching. But he didn't communicate that. So then therefore he's out here scrambling in survival mode, trying to figure out something independently, but not really communicating that with his wife.
Right.
That's survival mode. Or trying to do DoorDash during his lunch break and not tell her that he's doing DoorDash.
And again, a big thing with survival mode is you just keep putting more and more thing on your plate, which makes it more and more difficult to handle. So, like, just with that alone, that the more he kept to himself, the more he had to try to work and figure out more and more things, which caused more and more stress in the relationship, which, even if he thinks he's keeping it from her, she's seeing that. She's sensing that. That is in the house. That stress he's going through is in the house. And again, it's crazy that communication would help that. But I think that's one of those things that just were passed down. And they probably saw that in relationships, and that's what became normal to them. This is how they communicate.
And I think ego plays a part in that. A little. Y'all both pause on that.
Right, because I don't know if it's as much as ego. Well, it could be. Well, again, I think that's one of the learned behaviors of what we'll say are the norms, where he has, as a man, he's supposed to provide, he's supposed to do this, that, or the next. So I don't know necessarily if that's technically ego, as far as more, this is what I have to do. I had to do this, what I've been told through everything I see media-wise, even though it may or may not be true. This is what I was told. And his interpretation of what he is told too is like, I can't even say when I need help. So I don't know if that's ego as much as just a learned behavior. That's a negative learned behavior that was reinforced through whatever stimulant that now he's presenting it in his relationship.
I was thinking the same thing, more so learned behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Because learned behavior can change, but at the same time, you have to communicate that. And sometimes, I don't care if you're a man or a woman, it's hard to communicate to your partner.
Very true. Very true. What, Daryl? What are you doing over there?
I'm bugging. I'm looking at Camp's wall, but I think that's my wall. I'm like, what's that black on my wall? I don't remember anything, but I'm looking at Camp's wall, thinking it's my. I'm tripping. I'm sorry. That's why I'm like, wait, what's black on my wall? But I'm looking at Camp's wall, thinking it's my. I'm bugging.
The wall do look
don't mind
alike,
me.
except for that whatever that is.
It does. So I don't know why I'm looking right at Camp, thinking it's my wall.
I guess 2 for 2, we have locks still, and then
Yeah, right. Maybe I saw the piece of the lock, and so I'm like,
I
what
don't
is on my
know.
wall? I was making sure nothing was crawling. I was about to get up out of here. It's about to be empty seat.
You was about to leave.
Oh yeah, I'm gone.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
gone. You understand me?
I'm not going there. I'll be like, okay, kill it, clean it, and keep it moving.
Yeah,
Hey,
I'm gonna
Keith,
keep
how you
moving.
doing?
All right.
He's like, I'm gonna keep moving. Show over. It can have the whole studio.
Can have it.
So, we're saying the ego is a learned behavior or a learned survival
Well, I
mode.
wouldn't even. I didn't even say it was. I don't know if it's ego. I think it's his. It's who
Yeah,
he
I'm just
is,
saying that
right?
piece that you described sound like a learned behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know if that's. I don't know. I wouldn't classify it as ego as much because I
Right.
don't think that he's. I think this is this way he was taught or way he learned to be and what he thought a man was.
Mm-hmm.
And when he didn't meet the standards, he kind of regressed. He wouldn't talk about it or anything. So I guess maybe that might be a little bit ego there. I'm not sure. I just don't necessarily. I don't see it, but it could be. I mean, I'm not saying it's. I just don't necessarily.
Okay. So there, I'm just sidetracking. You know that there's an outlet in your screen, right?
Yeah, I know over here. No,
It's
over
actually on
here.
the other side. Yes.
Right. On my screen, it's over here.
Okay, I
Over
just want
here,
to make
it's over
sure you
here.
know that
Okay.
that's there
So
so that you don't get up and run for that.
when I moved, then I noticed that it was wrong. It's opposite.
That's funny. That's so funny. I just wanted to be
So
clear so that you knew.
got you. Thanks for
Um,
having my back.
I try. So what risk or no people? How are people drawn to each other in survival mode? Like how? Again,
That question is crazy, and I'm not to cut you
That's a
off because
loaded.
it seems like it's almost a learned innate, or maybe you smelling pheromones, because these people will find each other in a dark room. Like it'll be you'll find each other online, or maybe just bring it out to everybody you meet, because it's amazing how these people find the people that they need to find. It's crazy.
it's like a magnet.
It is, and it doesn't matter how it happens. It just seems like they come together.
And it's like it could be for the good or the not so good, because sometimes people's
Right.
roles kind of have them fold into like reacting or being a certain way that they are not necessarily the fixer. They're not necessarily the fixer, but they are the person who understands and able to problem solve or able to like do things a little bit differently for the good of the relationship, or so they think.
Right.
They don't realize that they may be enabling a behavior to continue on, and in different seasons of your relationship it begins to look different.
Yeah,
Right.
I know.
Or
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Camp. You got it.
No, I feel like some people, like the other person, when the roles change, may see that person as a visionary or a healer, or at the right moment they'll get me out of my situation. They understand, they can take this on. Like they're drawn to that. Like people, drawn to each other through that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes what happens is that person who is living in survival mode, even if they meet someone that is maybe not living in survival mode, you're going to bring them down. It's going to be really difficult to deal with them being in survival mode, with the lack of trust, with the lack of communication, with the lack of transparency, because they're not bringing in survival mode. Again, you're not bringing the full you. You're just bringing the abbreviated. I'm on survival mode, which is limited function. If your computer goes in survival mode, it means you have limited function, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it means you're not operating at 100%. So if you come into anything not operating at 100%, you're going to wear the other thing down.
Correct.
Especially if the other thing continues to try. If you get the person who's a fixer, like that's like the perfect nightmare. The fixer with the person that's in survival mode, and you're just trying to fix it, and another person's trying to get away from it.
And the fixer gets burnt out after a while.
Absolutely.
Or
Absolutely.
why do you keep doing the same thing over and over again? And because they're doing the same thing over and over again, it begins to challenge how it is that they see their partner, or how it is that they're, it's a burden to come home, or it's a burden to have certain conversations, or I don't even want to have the conversation because you're going to shut me down and not really hear what it is that I'm trying to say and make it into something else.
And
well, they put you into survival mode. I'm sorry, they put you into survival mode. So now what happens is you slow down and you say, okay, I know I can't do this. I can't do this. I got to walk on eggshells. I got to do this, that, and next. I don't want to cause problems. And you taking that on is not going to help anything, because they're going to continue to act the way they act. Now you're acting different, or again, at a limited capacity. And you both are just not, progressing, and it's just going to cause more and more drama, which again, now you both are burnt out. No trust, no communication, nothing, no transparency. You should definitely maybe not be together or go get help, but you're telling your friends about it, and you're telling your friends about it in a way that's maybe not accurate. It's your perception of what happened.
Right.
It's just a whole mess, whole toxic mess.
And it becomes a mess because you've been, again, to include too many voices into the conversation.
Right.
As well as like their perspectives and how it is that man or girl, you gotta do this, that, and the third, or you could just go somewhere else and dip out real quick, or you always do this, like you always. It's like the definitive or defining factor is like you guys always do this. I think the example that was given when this question even got created was like one person or both individuals who utilize substances or substance abuse, and how they kind of go out there, ride or die, ride or live, to ensure that the person gets the hit, and they do whatever it takes to get that hit. They're both enabling each other by whatever actions and decisions that they decide to do, from that point.
Or I've seen it where
Go ahead.
No, I've seen it where only one person does substances and the other person doesn't know. The fixer doesn't know, but once they find out, they enable by trying to protect them by not having friends and other family members recognize. But at that point, you become the stakeout. You start doing all this other stuff, and you never even taken drugs. I'm just saying, this has happened. I've seen this with certain couples, and so it becomes where, as a fixer, your fixer's making sure nobody else sees the red flags or the cracks that have been starting to show, and that's where it becomes a cycle. Oh, they promised they weren't gonna do it again. They promised they would come home on time.
Right.
They promised nothing else would be missing in the house. They promised whatever they make from the sale, they was gonna contribute to a bill.
So it's funny when you have the survival mode couple that we're talking about, like maybe the ones that were, like, we'll use the crack area where we had the people doing drugs and they would be together, but they had a common goal. So a basic need became the crack, and that was their focal point of their relationship, really. Now they did everything around that. You see couples that are together, but they're always arguing and fighting. You use too much crack, save some for later. They're arguing, but their goal is to get that crack. And one may do some strange things for some change, you know what I mean?
That's the best way to say that, right?
Right, to be able to get it, and they both can share in it. But it's very interesting when you bond over survival mode to I guess, to complete a common goal, especially something like that, crack.
And it could be like a trauma bonding, if you will. But then, like we're saying, we're using the example because it fits so perfectly into a family where substance abuse is happening. But swap out substance abuse to financially insecure or financially irresponsible. It's the same dynamic that occurs. It's just the target is different, but it draws you all together to argue. It draws you all together to say it's those shoes you bought, it's the trip that we paid for, but it's like not being responsible with money, which is
Period.
a survival mode conversation, because the thing culturally that we don't talk about is money.
True, money.
Right. So that's one of the a survival mode that we have kind of passed down and become a learned innate. Financial literacy is basically an issue in our community. We're basically illiterate. There's no generational wealth for the most part because it's not something that we're taught. We're not teaching the kids. We pass it down. So we as a people have really been in survival mode for most of our existence here.
Right.
Right.
And we're still not fully out. With more education and knowledge, we know more. And, some of us know more than others. But as a whole, we're a group of people that are living in survival mode here. I can't speak to other places, but here we're in survival mode. Right. Even just think about it. Going to a supermarket is going to be an issue now, right? Survival mode.
Okay, so wait, that's two layered. We just can't scoop that up. That's two layers, because
I would agree.
I believe you're talking about the recent incident that happened with the shooting in Buffalo that makes it survival mode, where I've seen stuff posted, about people's reaction and going to the grocery store or second guessing. But then the other survival mode is when they tell you that your total is $40 and you looking like how you only got 3 items or 4 items, and you're like, okay, how is this going to sustain me until the next time I get paid?
Oh, absolutely. Or if you have a baby right now and you're using baby formula, what are you doing? Covers the bear.
There's 4 layers, and then the layers if you have severe food allergies and what you can eat is not on the shelf.
Correct.
Just like, and everything is backed up. They're like, oh, it'll be back on it too much, just like the baby formula. You're like, what can I eat?
Right.
Right. So
I just wanted to make sure we were clear, because that grocery store scenario hits a lot of different ways.
So it does, but I would say the grocery store would be, most communities where we are, there's not even really a grocery store, right? I know a lot of don't have grocery stores. You have mom and pop stores with prices are 2 times, 3 times that of the grocery store, or maybe a CVS or Rite Aid or something like that. So that's the same thing you're saying, Mary, where the cost of living is making you, when you go in there, you got to make a life decisions. Like, what can I get? If I get this, if I get this bag of noodles, I might not have bus fare tomorrow.
Correct. Right.
So,
the shoes.
Do I put it in my pocket?
And if it's been a part of your life, right, which is survival mode.
Right, which is definitely so. It makes it difficult, and this also makes it difficult for and families where your kids are crying. Now you got to go. If you have the ideology as a man, like I got to go protect. Now you got to go. Like you said, I know how to get this money. The 9 to 5 ain't really cutting it. I know how to get it. You feel me? But I know it comes with that as well. Exactly. Am I willing to take that risk?
Exactly.
Because you in survival mode, you do become numb. Let's be honest. You do become numb, and your thinking is on a very basic level where I'm going to hit these streets to do what I got to do to feed my family. Because the end's going to, justify the means. The means to justify the ends. You block out the consequences and things of that nature. You really do. You know, and that's why a lot of people don't understand. Like, why are these people doing it? Well, when you really don't have much of other options,
correct.
This becomes it, right? This becomes it. Say it again, Cam. I'm sorry.
Now I'm saying you're living for the now. Like the next tonight don't matter. Like if it was daytime, tonight wouldn't matter. You trying to figure out how you gonna eat now.
How you gonna do it
now. How you gonna feed these kids? How you gonna like? I mean, I wasn't a teenage mother, but like I had siblings and cousins. Like it's only so much. How am I make this stretch for a
Mhm.
meal for these 5 kids? Like
Mhm.
You ain't gotta be a
you
teenage
got
mother. You be a grown
no.
mother.
I'm
You
just
know what I
You
mean?
saying
could
for
be
You know
the
somebody
what I'm
who's
saying?
40 years old and trying to figure
true.
out how we gonna
I
But
was
figure
just
I was
this out.
yeah. I was just thinking from when I was
60 years old,
younger.
7 years old, to see if
Yeah,
we can
just
cat
having
food and
siblings
things of
and you
that
just
nature.
like it's
You
just
know,
like you got to make it stretch.
yeah, but it's difficult to make nothing stretch. And
Correct. I agree. I totally
that's
agree.
where and that's where that survival mode really
Mo
kicks
really
into
kicks
overdrive,
in.
because when you got some wind chops and some air pies, and that's what you got to eat. You got to make a decision.
Wait a minute.
You
You
have to
said
figure out
wind chops and
You said
what?
wind
wind
chime.
chops
I heard that
and
part.
air pies.
Okay, gotcha.
They both taste the same, okay?
No,
when
yeah.
you're living when you're living that way, it becomes very crucial to what you're going to do.
And a lot of how that is set up from your childhood. I mean, when you bring up the wind pies and the air pies, it makes me think about how survival mode is set up from a child. So you think about, I have probably a couple different examples, but one would be you go into the store and you've heard mom talk about, or grandmom, whomever is going into the store, about how they don't have any money. And before they walk in, they turn around and say, don't touch nothing, don't ask for nothing, you can't get none of this. And so when you get into the store, there's certain things that you're able to put into the cart, and you get to the cash register, and whoever that adult is able to pay for it. You're like, wait a minute, I thought we just said we didn't have any money to do whatever, like to buy anything, or that I couldn't select anything. But yet there's money that came from a card that you pulled out, the wall that you went to, because that's how some kids see the ATM. You went to the wall and you got it. That you being told that you had to be less than, or choose a lesser option, or not get something that was a bonus, begins to manifest for you as an adult when you're in survival mode, and thinking that you have to continue to live that way, or some situations have it where you are still living that way. And every time you try to price something out or try to have a high value item, you second guess and think that you shouldn't do it because there was a time when you weren't able to get that extra bonus. So it's like you're always questioning, well, can I have crabs this week? Or do I need to have an AirPod and a wind pie? I might have mixed
Right.
it all up.
Well, you said yeah. Gotcha.
What you gonna say, Camp?
No, I said gotcha. No, when you said did I mix it up? You said you might
Yeah.
have mixed it up. No, I understood what you were saying. That's all I'm saying.
No, okay. But it's like, so that stuff manifests. Like the seeds that are planted from your younger self ends up becoming how you make decisions in your older relationships, and you don't even realize where it came from. But you
Right.
remember, that moment when you were going into the grocery store, the mall, the whatever store, the toy store. We going in a toy store to buy a gift for somebody else. You see a toy that you want, and mom is like, you can't have it because she can't get the gift for whoever's birthday party we going to, and get you something too. And so then you may become resentful to the person's birthday that it is, because you don't care about their gift. You care about
No,
what
she yeah, what I want. Like you ain't caring about the person's birthday.
you.
But then you can't show up empty handed either. So
Right. But
Well,
then
you're
as
not
an
gonna show up at
adult, that
all.
manifests, right. As an adult, that manifests into how you resent people over and over again when they have something that you deem as more than you, or they have
yeah.
access more than you. And you don't realize
Right.
that resentment is kind of embedded. We talk about learned behaviors. Like that's
Yeah.
definitely learned behavior.
So
Embedded
it's
in
like you
you.
have a toxic narrative, right? The toxic narrative is the birthday, or whatever the case may be, which turns into a behavior, right? But you don't, maybe not as you're not about birthdays anymore. You don't like birthdays, and
Yeah.
whatever the case may be, which now turns into that survival mode where you're like, I don't believe in birthdays. You might not like your birthday anymore, right?
Right.
Birthdays may not be maybe off the table altogether.
Yeah, I don't celebrate certain holidays. I don't do birthdays,
right.
holiday. It don't mean nothing to me. Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
Right, because now it was damaged. That ideology of birthdays was damaged
Yep.
as that in the beginning, and now you turn that into a way of life.
Right.
Now you don't even understand what's going on. Like, man, I don't like birthdays because I don't like birthdays. You know why? Because my birthday was 2 days after Christmas. What happens? I get one gift for Christmas and my birthday.
That's
oh
my
cheating.
God.
That's cheating.
Right.
I remember
my brother got two. He got one in July, and he got one in December. He didn't get one for July and December. Why I gotta get one? And then why we gotta celebrate? It's my birthday, and there's Christmas right here, and now we celebrate Christmas and my birthday. I don't got a special day.
Early. You just end up opening the Christmas gift early.
Well, mine was after, so I got my birthday is after Christmas, so it just was like all the pizzazz was took out of it because we had Christmas. We had the big to do, and then a couple of days later, happy birthday. Hey, you can open some of the other gifts under the tree that we didn't open yet. So you want me to open some Christmas gifts for my birthday? Is what we're doing?
Right.
I don't like birthdays, and I really didn't like birthdays. And now my daughter's here, I like them, but other than that, I ain't doing no birthdays.
Yeah, my son's birthday is the day after Christmas, but we always had like a separate birthday party the next day. And he was like, "Why?" I was like, "It's his actual birthday, so we gonna celebrate his birthday."
Still don't feel the same.
You guys are talking
about gifts.
Y'all talking about the days, like a couple days before and after. I'm December the 1st, so sometimes I will be told, "Well, we'll see you at Christmas."
No, Christmas.
Oh, see?
That's my birthday. Like, what you mean?
Fraggle knackle bull. That's bull. You understand me?
Yeah, that is. It's like, I see you Christmas.
Don't come see me after Christmas.
In, but that's for Christmas gift. That's not a birthday gift.
Don't come see me after Christmas.
And that's why I go all out. I be like, no, birthdays are important, and I celebrate.
You do go all out.
Yes, you said I do go all out.
There's nothing wrong with it for your birthday. Yeah.
Oh, I'm not. I wasn't going to embrace it if you said it was something wrong with it. I'm celebrating.
Because I go all out because it's my son's birthday too. December. I'd be like, let's go.
Right.
And people like, why are you doing too much? Yeah. Well, people think I do too much for his birthday. They be like, just let him open a Christmas gift early. I said, no, that's separate.
Mm-hmm.
Why should he have to suffer? Because he was born that day he was born.
Right.
Listen.
Terrible. I mean, and I get it, but that survival mode we began. So if we did take on the narrative that our birthdays are not important or least important, they're worth celebrating because life is not guaranteed to us in any particular way. So it's like birthdays are extremely important. Like, you're not
the best day.
You say it's the best day. I know Doc celebrates her birthday, and usually
I celebrate all months.
Not on this side of a passport stamp. Like, she's usually on another side of a passport stamp for all of her birthdays, and I have done
Yes, no birthday spent in the U.S.
I heard that.
Why not?
Survival mode. You getting away? What you
That's
getting away
right.
from? What you running from?
Ain't running away. That's the way you reset. Everybody
running to
that beach water relaxation.
Yes.
Ain't checking no text message every couple minutes and no email. So, Doc, welcome to the conversation.
Hey guys.
Hi. Sorry.
No problem. We still, we define survival mode, and we just talking about different ways that it kind of shows up, and how it manifests from childhood, situations. And then we got on the birthdays, Daryl's birthdays 2 days after. And I remember wishing Daryl happy birthday. He was like, yeah.
Another day.
And I'm like, no, Daryl, it's your birthday. Like, happy birthday.
Yes.
My birthday every day.
Oh,
okay.
Here we go. Yep. It's only a matter of time.
It's the same thing. One gift I got in Christmas lasts me the whole year. Use it for your birthday and anything else.
That's fair. Why I say gifts should be given all year round. Like, it shouldn't. The calendar shouldn't dictate how it is that you celebrate people who are important to you in your life.
Yes.
Right. Especially if you're born in December, get one gift for both.
The thing though too, when you break away from the survival mode aspect, is you stop having the expectations that disappoint you. So like if you decide, okay,
Right.
well, people don't celebrate me the way that I want to be celebrated, and when I think about what I feel I should get or that I should receive at this specific holiday, then you just change your expectation of those people and make sure you give it to yourself. That would be a way to break up with that survival narrative of
Mm-hmm.
they only gonna give me one gift. Fuck
Mm-hmm.
that one gift. I'm about to give
Yeah,
myself
celebrate my
10
dance.
gifts.
Celebrate my damn self.
But isn't that just doing it in reverse?
What you mean? That's not
You give
survival
yourself
mode.
a
You're
whole
not
bunch.
reliant on somebody else to trust and love you to the capacity that you
Oh, I see
want
what
them
you're saying.
to.
But it's still you're still surviving, right? You're still, I found a way to survive through this. I'm just going to give myself a whole bunch of gifts. That's not helping the problem, right? Is that fixing the problem, or is that just using now that you have money, you get your own gift? Because that doesn't make you stop the I mean, I guess the way that it was looked at is not taken care of. We still have that negative view of it. We just say we're going to do it. I'm not going to wait for you. I'm going to do it. So it's still actually, we're reinforcing the survival mode at that point. We're just saying, I don't have trust in you. I'm going to do it myself because I know you can't do it. I'm going to do it. I'm just asking.
So I think it comes from two different ways. If you're in a partner relationship, then it might be, recreating a survival mode of a certain sort. But if you're not necessarily in a partner relationship, or you haven't built that trust in a relationship for people to know how to acknowledge and celebrate you, then you have to make sure you're not relying on them to show up the way you need them to show up. And you're still making sure that you get what you need. It's not a matter of you having the financial resources, because you might not have the financial resources, but you choose to celebrate the year of birth differently or uniquely.
But the goal would be to actually let someone else meet that need for you that you felt that they couldn't, right? So
Maybe.
a bill would be to try to talk to them maybe and get, because I mean, me giving me a gift is me giving me a gift. I don't think that's really a gift. Like a gift comes from someone else. So on my birthday, I
You
want
a
gift from
gift
somebody
on
else.
breathing every day.
Huh? What is that?
You a gift breathing every day.
I mean, yeah, that's good. That's one gift. But I need a gift that I can open and do something with. Surprise! I want to be surprised with something. Okay.
You want to be surprised with something?
Only surprise you get with breathing if you're not breathing anymore. You're not here. Surprise! But so I would rather help break that feeling I have with birthdays, with some being able to count on someone to make sure there's two gifts. One for your birthday. That would actually help break the way I maybe think about it. I wouldn't have such a negative view of it, right? That would be me. That's how I feel. That would be breaking the cycle. Because if I'm getting gifts for myself, I'm still feeling the same way about it. I don't trust you. You can't do what I need to do. I buy my own stuff. But that's not fun because I know what I get. I want to be surprised. So I need somebody.
Oh, you like surprises?
I
don't.
Yeah, I
was just going to say. Then now you introduce the other thing that someone in survival mode may not necessarily appreciate, which is a surprise.
Right.
Because they may not have a good relationship with what surprise means to them. Surprise, about to be evicted. Surprise,
but if
your car about to be repossessed, or like.
But I would say, but if it's a good surprise, that may help them to start to trust again, right? Because the big thing with survival mode is the lack of trust. The trust is broken down. The trust is not there. So if you're doing things to help them to know that they can rely on you, surprise, the bills are paid again, and it's consistent. After a while, hopefully they will, not have that ideology anymore, or that learned fear will start to lessen some until you don't pay the bills one time and they go right back into where they were. But at least for a little bit, they can feel good that the bills may be paid on time. I think that consistency in the affirmative would help these people better than not. So I think it go both ways. I'm saying, I guess.
It makes, I don't know. Doc, what you got? Because it's like I think of a couple different things, and I'm like, I don't know. Maybe we need another voice in the mix. Doc, what you got? You still trying to catch in?
Yeah, I'm
didn't
trying
catch
to
up
catch
yet.
up. I'm trying
Doc,
to catch
what is
up.
survival mode to you? What is survival mode to you? Talk to us about survival mode from
Yes,
your
Doc,
perspective.
please.
It's
Perspective.
I think it's more of a fear-based thing
Okay.
where you're always in fight or flight.
Fear of not
Mhm.
You
having.
know? Yeah, it's
Yes,
fear
that part.
based. Yes. So and everything leads you to feel like you're being attacked and that you have to protect yourself.
Mhm.
Mm. Yeah.
Very interesting. That's one way I think it exhibits itself, right? Because remember, sometimes, like we talked about earlier, it exhibits itself where, and it could be a fear, like you're in the store and you're buying food and it's $12 and you have 5. Right? What I'm gonna do? You know, am I gonna put something in my pocket? Like, what do I do? Because I got to go.
But
feed
you might play Russian roulette, like, okay, well, if the card go through,
Right.
then I'm
Right.
good, and I'll deal with it on the other
The
side.
consequences
Listen, we learn
later.
to survive. You put stuff on the bottom of the cart that is plausible deniability. Like, I didn't know it was there. So if you make it to the car, you won. If you don't, oh, that's down there. You know, I don't even want that. I don't want it now.
I've seen
So
that. Okay.
again, that's learned survival, right? We
Yeah.
learn to
I've
survive.
seen
Like
that happen,
this
so I
is
can't try
this
to
is
laugh.
real. Like I'm talking about
No,
things
This
it's
that we've
is
real.
really
done.
real. Like that's
It
why I had to
definitely
laugh.
is.
Okay.
Like
Laugh.
I've seen
This
people like get to the car and be like, "We ain't pay for that. Put that shit in
Right.
the
They
car
knew
real
they didn't
quick."
pay for that. That we didn't pay for that was for who was around. Like, I don't believe I forgot this. Put it in the car.
Are the cameras? Do y'all see
Right.
was the camera scanning that?
Well,
Or
I was always told if
let me stop with the urban psychology. Because some
Okay.
people will take the ShopRite stickers and have them on reserve.
And put them on the thing because you have to have the stickers for water, like certain things they give you the stickers for. You gotta put them on there.
again,
Yes.
these things we're saying are people being in survival mode.
Exactly.
And
Yes,
it's
survival
but
mode.
it's normal to some people. This is not
Yeah.
this is not something
Right.
that this is every shopping experience. I remember going with my grandma. There was something on the bottom of the cart. We was trying to let's see if we can make it to the car. You know, that the expensive meats and stuff were on the bottom. Let's see if we can make it to the car.
Mhm.
And a lot of times we did. But this is real. This is a lifestyle what we talked about, especially in we can speak for our community where we're in survival mode. 90% of the time, people look like us are in survival mode in certain areas.
Well, yeah, because
they're not really
we're
living.
traumatized on a daily basis sometimes.
Traumatized from the womb to the tomb. We've been traumatized since we've been here. The traumatization has never stopped, right? They try to act like it has, but they remind us every and if you look around, it reminds all the time, right? That there's something that can remind. I mean, just for a cop pulling behind us could put you in a panic attack, right?
Yes.
So
Sure.
it's very difficult to live when you have cortisone running through your body all the time, right?
Yes.
And that's that fight or flight that you were talking about, that fear. That any time, like I said, now even going to a supermarket, not only the price is a problem, but we got to worry about people coming into specific communities looking to target certain people.
Right.
Yes.
Or if you are shopping in a community that you are the minority, people looking at you like, are you going to react to what has just happened? Or why are you shopping here? Like,
here.
I'm a whole professional. Like, I deserve to shop where I choose to shop. I've seen
It's not your neighborhood.
I've seen different experiences. Like somebody who I think lives in Delaware County, works for American Airlines, has for over 10 years. And when they went to the grocery store, they were like a resort. Like everybody's looking at them as they walk through the store. And she's like, why are they looking at me like this? And she had felt guarded. Like, why do I have to second guess the fact that I'm in the grocery store? I'm in here to shop. I'm not stealing.
Just start waving to them. That's what I do. I ain't got nothing in my pocket. Oh no, we weren't. I'm just saying, just if you were, I'm letting you know I don't got nothing. I have money. I have money.
Right.
I do that type of stuff.
I can see that.
Or just stare back, or just be like,
I gotta. Hey, it's teachable moments. If you want to look at me, I'm gonna make you feel silly.
I look at you.
Right.
Do you think I'm stealing? Yeah, that's a good one. Ask them that. Somebody look at. Do you think I'm stealing? Oh no, I wasn't even looking at me. Oh, I thought I'm just letting you know I'm not. That's a good one. Try that one. Everybody try that one. Someone staring at you, just ask. Do you think I'm stealing? really.
I might
they
try
use-
if I have to try.
they just walk away usually really fast. No. I would never think that. I wasn't looking at you.
Or they do like a mistake, like something I experienced today. And I guess it kind of could go to survival mode. I was walking into a store and I was a few steps ahead, but I was holding the door for a couple. And I went on the one side of the door where you have to pull the door open. And I'm just going to say they pushed the handicap door and the door hit me. And he was like, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean that the door to hit you. I was just trying to push the handicap. And I just looked back and was like, okay. Like I didn't have the bandwidth for it, like at that particular point. But I also felt like arguing. I wasn't hurt. I was able to move out of the way. But what part of that thing did I could have responded differently. I'm just gonna say that. I could have responded.
You definitely could have.
I'd have been like, boom! I'd have yelled, boom! Scared them because they already thought you were going to do something. They were like, please, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean please. That's more offensive. That's more offensive than anything else. And it's funny. And that's when they go into, they went into survival mode. They don't live there, but they had in that moment when that door hit you, they were doing anything to survive because they thought they were going to die because you are an animal and you're going to kill everybody in the supermarket who got hit by a door. In their mind, that's what they thought. Right. And they were in survival mode, copping, please. I'm so sorry.
I'm so sorry. I didn't even do that.
And that is more offensive to me than I would rather you just walked in and act like you didn't see it. Because that would be more offensive to me to act like this door hitting me was going to lead to maybe harm coming to you.
Right.
That's ridiculous.
Right.
And then we have to, feel this. And like you said, then I don't know what to do with this.
Right.
I don't know what to do with this because if I say anything, it's going to be what they expect to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it's like,
and it's gonna be loaded from whatever else I'm surviving from the day, whatever that they don't even know, but they about to get it.
Right.
They could have got it.
You said, look here, Jack, lay it on me, you dig? You hit me with the door, I'm taking you down. He said, start talking like that.
Oh God.
Oh my goodness. That is so offensive. And it's weird. And that's where people don't understand sometimes that we are always in that feeling that way because of those type of instances where they don't see what's wrong with that. Right. What do you mean? I was just apologizing for hitting you with a door. No, your intensity, how your presentation, you were afraid. You thought something was going to happen. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they thought that they were about to catch all the smoke. And so because they looked at you like what they see, the negativity they see on TV of us, right?
Right, and I guess I was in the wrong zip code already.
Right. The angry black woman who's probably on welfare, who's here trying to steal, right? That's what really is going on, which is the problem for me.
On welfare, though.
Right?
So what do you think? You think they don't think? You think they think you're not?
I'm sure they do.
Is that what you think?
Okay, maybe I should have said it wasn't me. I should have said an experience I saw today.
I don't care who it was. If they seem that's how they view us.
Right.
And that's the problem. The view of us, their image of us is always is for the most part that. And it's so once they get to know you, like, oh, you're different than I thought you were. Well, we're done talking because you must have thought I was an animal. So now, like, right. Oh, you're not like the rest of them. I'm about to be.
Right. That's what we can hit that switch anytime.
Oh yeah, there's some code switching going on. You understand me?
I'm about to be.
You understand? Because now you took me there. Because it's weird. Because a lot of us have, the way we had to fight for everything, right? And growing up. Even to keep our things, we had to worry about someone trying to take it because people don't have are going to get it from the people who do have. So you got some new sneakers and nobody else in the neighborhood don't have any. Guess what? They're going to get your sneakers. Even if they fall off on the wire, they just don't want you to have them, right? But that's the lifestyle we live that put us in that survival mode for some of us anyway, not all of us, but a lot of us in those areas lived in survival mode because of how we live, what we had to go through, right? So that's in us. We have to understand that's in us. So like you said, when you react, you got to remember, well, I got to taper this response back some, because you don't want to give off that unless you have to. Because sometimes I turn out to a quick fast in a hurry.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes, hey, you earned this one.
Right.
Let me tell you.
Right.
You earned this. You earned the switch. Okay. But and that's a problem in itself, because we have to change everything about us and think about everything we do, so we don't be that stereotypical view of ourselves. That's a lot of weight to hold. That's a lot of weight to hold, to say I got to tailor my response so not to make you afraid
or uncomfortable.
Right? Because if you would have
wait a minute, and at the same time we're fearing for our own safety.
Absolutely.
So,
are we gonna live from this situation?
Yes.
Like if I turn around because you hit me and the cops come, who they going? Who?
Probably
right. When they call that gun to this altercation, it's going to be usually I'm going to be the one looked at and have to. Hopefully, I got to plead my case, and I got hit.
Right.
I'm going to plead my
camera.
Case. Right. But the camera don't matter at the time, because when they pull up, that's what matters. That
they're not looking at They're looking
because
at
you can look at the camera after I got shot, but is that helping me?
No.
At that point, it didn't help me because I got shot. Now we get to watch what happened to you, right? So catching it on film is cool. It becomes documentation of how you died, and they can use it in their next so-called sensitivity training. But it's terrible, and that's why we don't want to even engage with some of these things, because I don't want to say anything, because if I say anything, the cops could take this out of, and they're gonna pick. It's just too much. So you hit me with the door. I'm limping and bleeding, but I'm gonna be all right. I'm gonna keep it to myself.
I'm so glad it's not the extreme that Daryl described.
Like, are you okay? Hey, you're bleeding. I'm fine.
I'm fine. I'm
still
still going to the store to get what I intended to get. Like,
I can't go now. Where's the nearest urgent care? No, I just want to go to. I just want to go by.
Hilarious.
Is that blood? No, it's not. I'm good.
It's not. It just looked like it. Right.
But that's, and that's where survival mode as a whole that we interpret. And then now we have relationships, and we're bringing the survival mode into the relationships. We have these two people who are living, in the survival mode, trying to make a relationship. And again, like we kind of said earlier, like survival modes mean you're functioning. You're basic at a basic functioning level. If your computer goes to, you can't do much, right? You can eat, go to the bathroom, and maybe pay some bills, hopefully.
Yeah, because of the basics are the basics are affected. Your concentration, how you process, all that stuff is affected.
Right. So when we start talking about a hierarchy of needs, you can't stack up on that pyramid if we're going to use that because the bottom's all messed up, right?
All messed up.
The basic ones, you can't stack anything on a base or foundation that's not solid. So when you have an unsolid base, it's going to other things going to be affected. You know what I mean? So if you're not eating, then work is going to be a problem because you're hungry.
Right. You can't concentrate. You can't focus.
Because you got headaches.
That means I'm not sleeping. I'm not sleeping.
You can't sleep.
Snapping at people.
So you're tired and more lack of focus.
You're not the team player people want you to be.
Now I'm cranky.
Right.
So now that switch I have is going to be on all the time. Yeah. So when you do something to me, I'm going to do something to you back.
Of course.
Which now means I may not be able to keep a job because I keep running my mouth. When you say something, I'm going to say something because I'm the boss, even though you're the boss. Now I don't have a job, right? And that you hear it sometimes where people be like, man, this job too, man, they be messing with me. Huh?
Yes,
Every job messing with you?
Yes,
Every job?
Every
Whoa.
that's the common denominator.
It's not every job.
Right. So now that person at home is expecting you to lose your job.
Mhm.
They're already worried about it.
Can't
When you
believe
get the
it.
job, they can't even be happy that you have the job because they're worried about you losing the
not gonna
job.
keep
They
it.
know.
They're saying to
know it's
themselves, I
coming.
know they won't have it for long.
Right.
Right.
And
And then
the
you're
couple
gonna
that I mentioned earlier, like, you know, that
Mhm.
he just rolls, he'd be like, I don't like them people no more. So he just
I'm
leaves.
gonna roll out.
And then everything is on her and she always pulls it together. But yeah, it's not communicated.
Because she has to.
no. And that becomes, and do you see the relationship start to be destabilized because there's no trust,
Mhm.
right? I can't trust you to be there for me, so I can't trust you to support me. I can't trust you to for this thing to really work. So I don't know why we're really here because we don't trust each other, right? You know this person, I'm gonna be hungry again. Like, dang, he ain't got no job again. I'm gonna be hungry again. Or
the kid's gonna be hungry.
right. So
And
that's a
you
terrible
already know
place.
that the relationship can't grow when
But you
you're in
don't
survival
leave.
mode.
But you don't leave. That's that trauma
Yeah.
bond. Let me stay in this.
Is it
Because
trauma bonding or is it what you know? So it's that survival, that mutual survival mode.
Well, I guess, or maybe even it could be worse for somebody else. They may not ever get a job. At least they do get a job and get fired, right? So we have to rationalize it. There's that where we start to make things up,
several times.
right? We have to make things up to make it okay. We have to make it make sense. Well, he is working. Right.
Well,
he do get jobs. He do get jobs, boo. You know, my man get fired all the time, but he all the time get a new job. You understand? So you're gonna make it make sense. You know, oodles and noodles. We just have to eat oodles and noodles. Get whatever case for me. You'll make a reason to make it okay. So that's where you go marry. Like you said, that's that. We're already operating at the lowest functioning level as it is. So this is really not that bad. You know, hope. You know, so yeah. You're right, Mary. I think it's that.
Yeah. Sure. So then I have another spin on survival mode. It's a whole bunch of spins on survival mode.
Okay. The next
different couple.
Okay.
They are financially okay. Like both in accounting, one in Wall Street, you know, financially okay. Melanated with a Caribbean background. He identifies it that they've had right. Pretty much.
I was waiting for that.
Pretty much. He identifies that they've had 3 different relationships, and the reasons in the 2 previous that they broke up was because she wanted something. Like she had an ultimatum. She wanted to get a house the second time. He was like, we're not in a healthy relationship, so why would we be buying a house? The first time she didn't pass her accounting exam, so she blamed him, and so he was like, okay, I'm out. The third time she was like, okay, I want to have a baby and I want us to get married, and we have to be married before we have a baby. And he has complied every single time. But with resentment.
Wait, he got a house, he got married, and gave her a baby?
Those were the 3 relationships when they broke up and
they got back together.
And then got back together.
She was saying.
Yeah.
Oh, I think
they broke up and got back together
again. They broke up and got back together, but it was always because of something that she didn't get, or if she put an ultimatum and she wanted, and he's never getting what he wanted.
So did they get married at a certain point?
They're married. They just celebrated 1-year anniversary.
They have a baby.
Yeah.
And
again,
they don't know how they got pregnant because he doesn't have sex with her because
obviously
he feels like that would be doing something.
Apparently he does.
Obviously he does. That's a dumb question. Or she's cheating. It's really easy. I'm gonna tell you, it's really easy.
Okay, but that's a distraction. That's a distraction. Don't get into the distraction.
That's not a distraction. That's a major point. That's 101. He said he don't know how she got pregnant.
Because they really don't have sex a lot. She's always pursuing.
It only takes one time.
It only takes one time. I'm about to say one time and that's it. I'm sorry.
Oh my God, I shouldn't have said that.
I just had to say that.
He got mental health.
Can I finish what I was saying?
Yes, I'm sorry.
So there's resentment whenever she tries to present or like, interact with like being the initiator for sex, he doesn't feel like he wants to do it because he's done all these other things for her. So he doesn't do it. And so then therefore survival mode ensues, but they don't communicate. They're having difficulties communicating. And he finally said it. That the reason
what? He's not straight?
Help. Huh?
He's not straight?
Oh my gosh. She that was the first breakup was in that too. Are you gay? But then the second relationship, she said that we can't have sex until we get a house or whatever. And he complied. He just feels like he doesn't
want to have sex. That was right up his alley.
But I feel like they relate to this whole survival mode, or how people end up doing stuff that they don't want to do, but still in it and not really being successful in communicating what it is that they would want.
Right. Like not coming out the closet really makes you go to basic needs.
I'm trying not to laugh at that.
Okay. Listen, there's something going on there that doesn't make sense.
No.
It doesn't make sense. And no, I get her because she sounds like, oh, we have to do this to do this. We have to do this to do this.
She sounds very controlling.
Right.
And abusive.
Yes.
Right. I can see all of that.
And she's like, well, I didn't have no examples of what it looked like to be in a relationship because I was raised by my grandmother and my mom. And there were men who came through, but they didn't stay.
Mm-hmm.
You think?
So she's getting the one that's going to stay.
Well, she kind of threatened him to stay. And he kind of complied.
Because he's something that rhymes with stay.
What's up with his esteem? His self-esteem sounds really fragile or non-existent.
When you can't be who you are, what do you think? When you are in survival mode and you can't be who you truly want to be,
right?
That's the problem. And again, you stay in this I can see why he can stay in this relationship because he knows it. And this relationship,
but you can live in a different relationship so much better.
But with someone that looks like him, but he can't do that for whatever reason. So I think that that's why this is why he keeps coming back to her, because first of all, it's like, well, she kind of accepts me because she tells me what to do. I do it, and we're good for a little bit. Right? I comply. When I comply, we're good for a little bit.
It's all
she wants the next thing. And then, now we're married, and I'm not happy. I'm just surviving, meaning he's doing what he's told. Like you said, he said, how do we get pregnant? We barely have sex. That to me is really a concerning, as a grown man, that's ridiculous.
Right.
So what is really going on in that relationship? You know, taking him out of sleep. What is going on?
To the Maldives, we coming back pregnant.
Right. But he says he's going because of her. So that's what she wants to do.
Well, I'm not really saying that for me. Let me be clear, because I'm not getting pregnant, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's.
So I had to clear that up.
But I think that's a perfect example of survival mode, because he's not living. Neither of them are really living.
They're
surviving.
Neither one.
They're surviving due to an ideology that they're trying to make, this Disney ideology they're trying to present.
Yeah. And they're trying to live for the external version of their relationship, but internally unhappy. And now a little person is about to be in the mix.
It's involved, which is going to make it even more. It's going to be tougher, because this baby's going to be very demanding.
And keep them together.
And now what? Because that's another. Again, you always add more and more to the stress.
Right.
You add more and more to it. And I don't know if it can keep it together because they're not together already.
Right. Well, the thing is that the first therapist that they worked with for a year, they weren't honest. And I called them out on a couple things, and I said, okay, well, we got to get where the past hurts were. And that's how I learned that there were 3 different versions of the relationships with the hurts that I described to you. And they're like, we've never been this honest. And then, you know, some of the things I pointed out, they were like, okay, she's dead on. You think? Y'all magnetize to toxicity. Like y'all like toxic,
right.
Keep coming back.
but y'all don't like the loving and caring and nurturing of each other. And so I guess I'm sharing this example not necessarily to talk about them per se, but to talk about even on a high level, individuals function in survival mode and will lose themselves and not really trust and be guarded and like kind of protect themselves, but not really know how to break that cycle.
Well, remember, we can't buy away survival mode, right? There's no price tag. There's not amount of money to make you trust more. I think it actually helps to make you trust less, right? Because you can do more and more for yourself. You don't have to worry about anybody else. I don't have to trust you. I never put you in a position to trust because I'm doing it all myself if I can afford it and do everything myself. So I never really learn or give you the chance to.
Right.
So I wonder if one of these reinventions, all 3 of these reinventions are about survival mode, because that is one of the things people do is try to create a new beginning.
Right.
Without processing and dealing with what happened before.
You can't go into a new situation just wanting to change because there's work for change.
Yes.
And even if you're doing work, you have to be in a situation to see if you change. You got to practice using those tools. Nobody's going to get it the first time out the gate for the most part. And that's the problem. People who are by themselves, like, I worked on me, I'm good now, I don't got them old habits anymore. And we get in a relationship, pressure bust pipes, and you will may revert back into the person you were, right? Because you didn't have a chance to really, use those skills you may have learned on a one-on-one. So it's very difficult.
Yep. Right.
Yes.
Or you haven't liked nobody enough.
But if I say we're starting over, that means all the other stuff disappeared.
Can you really say
not if you ain't process that?
I know.
Can you say you starting over?
That's the thought. We're going to start.
Right. And it's easy to project it onto who you find as the catalyst, because the way that they describe the previous therapist relationship, they took no responsibility for what they didn't do until now that I know all the bones. Well, we weren't honest, and we didn't do this and we didn't do that. Well, then by the time they told her, it was after a year of sessions. So I can't even imagine. No,
going through that,
busting this wide open third session.
They was just wasting time for a year.
And because they got the financial resource, it don't matter.
Right.
He's fighting to get out the closet. He's been stuck for a year.
Stop.
Well, now he got a baby on the way.
Hey, a lot of them do. Beards are real. So I think it either there's a lot more going on. Hopefully, get to the bottom of it, because again, with the child now, if it's not going to be a conducive relationship, you need to end it, right?
Right.
You don't need to.
And that's what the previous person told him, that y'all just need he did individual, and the individual therapist for him said you just need to end it.
Right, because he told him the truth about the closet.
I'm sorry. That was my real
therapist. The individual therapist knows it all. He knows
all the real bones.
Yeah, the bone. That's what he needs, the bone.
You know what?
He needs to end it.
I'm sorry.
I'm just saying. I think, and it's fine. People need to be who they are and stop trying to be something they're not. And that's the first thing.
Absolutely.
Because being who you are, your authentic self, is going to always be better. And if it doesn't work, if someone doesn't like you for your authentic self, cool. No harm, no foul. Move on. Find someone who can love you for you. Right. And again, and I'm not saying you can just
third, fourth,
I'm not saying,
round.
And I'm not saying you
over
can
each
be.
other.
Huh?
She said sorry. She said, "Go ahead, Daryl."
I'm sorry. I was talking.
Yeah, you were, but y'all was competing, I guess, unfortunately. So Daryl, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I have my mic up real loud, so I can't really hear anybody else. But no,
imagine that.
Now I lost it. Damn, I dropped the ball. Damn.
Which ball did you drop, Daryl?
Not the one that he wants. Damn. Damn.
Oh my gosh. Camp, do you know what you were getting ready to say? We're saying, you know what? Y'all both on the
here we go. I would say something about survival mode is that a lot of people don't even know they're in it. That's the big problem. You don't even know that you're not living, that you're just surviving at a basic level. And that's the problem. That's a big problem for a lot of us to realize I'm in this mode where I'm just basically, I'm not living, I'm surviving.
And I guess what I was trying to point out too in the different scopes of scenarios that was provided is that most of the time when you hear the word survival mode, you think that there's always a deficiency as far as, I guess, like social class or sustainability or zip code or something like that. And it really could be across all financial, social, economic statuses. But
like I said, we all have survival mode in us. That's something we come equipped with. That's the default we have. We just don't want to live there. And the problem is a lot of us are living there.
Correct.
To whatever's going on, how we were raised, different external things that come up. We live there. So we just don't want to live there. And again, I know from growing up in a very urban area to move into a more, rural area, you feel the difference. I felt the difference in shift. I felt being relaxed. There's birds chirping. Can I leave my bike on the front yard and nobody's going to steal it? It was different even walking down the street where I'm like, wow, it felt like someone took a weight off my chest because I didn't feel the angst I felt in the environment I came from before. Because I didn't have to look over. I didn't feel like I had to look over my shoulder as much. I felt, even though that's just a delusion in itself, but I just felt it was more peaceful here. I felt I was more safe in this environment until the police came or the white neighbor came and said, you can't be out front with all your friends, stuff like that. But other than that, it was okay. So it's crazy when you realize. And I realized the survival mode, and I didn't have the words for it then as a child, but I felt the difference in life in different areas. Right? I really did feel the difference, and then I felt like I belonged in this new area. I felt like I was one of the crew until they really let me know that I'm not. So then I had I was introduced to a whole new survival mode.
Right. What the fact that you were being a delicacy and not realizing that you was being a delicacy?
That's what it was. Listen.
I like how you termed it.
Listen, that's what it was. I was a delicacy, and I thought it was like, I was like, I love it. This is great. And then to find out you were the taste of the month, definitely not something that was wanted. So again, I learned again, and then I had another fear. I sort of had other fears I had to deal with. But that survival mode is real. It's everywhere. It's just for I think people that look like us is just we're more on than off. Which
is why I think it should be more easily recognized, especially in children, so that it can be managed. But oftentimes, especially if it's a melanated child, they are slapped with a label of, ODD.
Right.
They might just be called bad. They're a bad kid when they're in fight or flight all the daggone time.
All the time.
Right. So
and all they want is attention and love.
Yes.
And a hug
sometimes.
And a
hug. Just like any other kid. Just like any other kid, right? So
I wanted to jump through the Zoom meeting this week when the guy was saying he had to do his messages through the chat because he was working with these bad behind kids. And I'm like, these kids not bad. You could probably include them in your question and it would be a whole different reaction. They wouldn't be bad. You ain't paying them no attention.
The issue I have with that is he's already telling you how he feels about these kids and how he treats them.
Yes.
Right. He just told you how he treats them, what respect he has for them. So they're not going to get the best learning be taught the best from him. They're not going to be given the benefit of the doubt. Yeah, they're not going to get the benefit of the doubt with him You know,
Right.
they're not going to get the extra help they need from him because he's looking at them as badass kids, which means I have little to no respect for you. I'm doing the job because I have to,
Right. And it's a
you
paycheck
know,
that's consistent.
but I would rather be somewhere else,
Mhm.
Mhm.
you know.
When the worst come.
And
Worse.
that's a shame. Or when you see, you never hear when there's a shooting in areas that are mostly melanated that these mentally challenged children are shooting each other. You know, these children who are stressed, these stressed out children. But when the thing happened in Buffalo, he had mental issues.
Mhm.
You know, he had mental issues, and those mental issues were well put together.
He got a
to
full mental
record it.
illness.
Yeah.
Not just mental
Oh
health, he
wow.
got mental illness.
Yes. His mental illness let him go the day before to talk to a black gentleman for an hour and 45 minutes. It made him come back the next day with a well routine of guns and systematically had everything. He knew not to shoot people that looked like him. There was the one video I saw where, you know, one white guy, oh, I'm sorry, he pointed the gun at him. But he was given a label, but you don't hear that when melanated people are shooting each other, who are all
He
in
drove an
survival
hour and a
mode.
half too.
You understand? It's a good plan. And he went targeting people that didn't look like him for whatever replacement theory, whatever they want to use. But in our environment, the melanated environment, when people do it, usually it's out of survival, right? It's usually a survival type thing. It's usually, you got something, I want it. Or you're on my block and it's where I make money and it's how I feed my family and I want it. There's usually not, I mean, the killings are senseless when you think about it, but they are about life.
Family and survival.
They're not running around just shooting people arbitrarily just because. That person was on the wrong set. They had the wrong colors on, which them colors signify money, family, love, all these things, right? So it's a survival mode, a survival way of life, which is leading some of these people to do the things they do, but that is never brought up. That is never talked about. They just look at it like it's animals that are just running around here killing themselves for no apparent reason. Lack of resources is a big reason to make people go into to kill each other. I mean, if any animal put in a cage and you have little to no resources, they're going to kill each other.
Right.
I'm just saying.
And a cage can be a row house, a block of row houses with no grocery stores and no resources. You can't get a job.
Right.
However, correct.
So again, if when you're trying to get out of survival mode by getting a job and doors are constantly shut in your face, you lose trust in the system. You lose trust in doing it the right way. Now you're out in this corner, like I said, because your thought process, look, they got to eat. We got to eat.
Right.
So, and we're not excusing anything. We're not saying anything is right. We're saying this is the mindset.
No.
We're just saying it's the reality.
Right.
Oh, we're talking about how it's impacting relationships. Like, you know, and relationships come in all different packages, if you will. And it's like I think we've done a great job, and of course I won't think we did a great job, but we've done a great job though in talking about from the very the spectrum and all the ways that the footprint of what survival mode can look like. We talked about the word trauma, how trauma can be just a word that now becomes a buzzword, but what that really looks like. And then, you know, the different layers from if it was substance abuse or financial mismanagement, the fixer, the enabler, like all of those different roles, how just from general everyday conversation and living, people can fall into or live every moment breathing in survival mode.
Right.
So I guess with that, is there any closing comments or parting things that you would want anybody who is with us now or even catches us on the replay that you would want to make sure that they walk away from this conversation with?
I guess survival mode is something that we're all equipped with. It's necessary. We just don't want to live that way. We don't want to live untrusting and live, you know, worried about and not counting on people and things of that nature. We definitely don't want to stay there because that's not a healthy way to be.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Can't.
I would say sometimes survival mode, like Daryl said, in terms of we all have been there, all have different spaces, but trying to come out of survival mode, take it a day at a time, and just with it being areas that you don't trust, people you don't trust, or situations, things can be compartmentalized and just take it a day at a time and try to look at it for what it was, what it was, not what it was, but what it is, and try to just work through it.
Okay. Doc, what you got?
You know what I'm gonna say? If you find that you are exhibiting signs of being in survival mode, get help. If you cannot pull yourself out of it, talk to someone so that they can guide you through it. Because there are
Exactly.
several techniques that are used by therapists and counselors that can really help you, walk out of this. So
Like
it's not
what?
something that
Can
has to be
can
forever.
can you tell us one? Like, what is one technique, or is it too drawn out?
Well, I mean, for adults, you could do something like prolonged exposure, and that's a evidence-based trauma treatment, and they will run you through the process of relieving yourself of this trauma.
So
Yeah,
let's say that in layman's terms.
I just did.
I'm gonna have to ungoogle this
I thought
later.
so, but okay.
I'll Google it later.
Okay,
Google
so
it.
what you want to do is find a therapist who specializes in a trauma informed treatment method. Is that
Okay.
more
Yes,
layman?
yes, yes,
Yes.
yes. Kind
Because
of.
if
Yes.
you're in survival mode, it is from traumatic experiences, and it's usually from trauma
Right,
on top of trauma on top of trauma.
Trauma.
It's not usually just one experience.
right.
This is usually for compounded.
Gotcha.
If you're in survival mode, it's usually from compounded trauma. So it's very difficult to wade through all of that by yourself.
Right, right.
Definitely.
You didn't know she meant either, Bruce. Don't try to act like you knew. You over there Googling it. She's
So
over
you
like, hey
definitely
Siri.
want to get help, especially if you see it in your relationship. If you
Right, right,
find
right,
that you're very suspicious and you're not trusting, it that's a sign.
right.
That's a sign. You- So it's definitely something that you need to get help with.
Gotcha.
So that's what I have to say about it.
And if you feel like you go to the jobs or every relationship or this always air quotes happens to you, you gotta do honest personal inventory and be like, if it always happens to you, not that it's something wrong with you, but what has happened to you, which
Yes.
is a trauma informed reaction,
Yes, it is.
what you have experienced in life, what has happened to you has informed how you are. Remember, I gave that childhood example of going in the store and not being able to buy anything, but the parent was able to buy what was in the grocery cart. It doesn't make sense, but it's how you begin to redefine how life works
Right.
for you,
Mhm.
and how you're recreating survival methods and projecting it out to everybody. But when you take time to look in the mirror, like turn that projection to the mirror of you, then it's going to take some work and it's going to be a journey. It's going to be an uncomfortable journey. The
Mhm.
time is arbitrary because it depends on how many weeds is in your journey that you got to cut down and gut out.
Mhm.
But once you do, with the right skillful individual, you'll
Mhm.
you'll have a better life on the other side. So then survival mode will no longer be attached to your hip in that way. You'll be able
Right.
to recognize it before it gets to the bigger picture of
Mhm.
contaminating things.
Yes.
You good, Daryl?
I'm good. I got it.
Are
I'm
you
gonna
saying
replay
something
this.
now?
I'm gonna replay it later, and I'm gonna Google it.
Gotcha. Got you. Would you say Camp, is he doing what? You know, he has his studio set up, so he got one camera
Yeah.
away and the
Well, yeah, I know he has a studio set up. I thought he was like noticing something again on the wall or something because I saw him have that look when he looks back.
No, my
Okay.
monitor is here, so I
Okay,
keep
yeah.
getting. I need to.
it's
Lot
all
going on
good.
over here.
Nice.
All right, so here's another Friday night sip and chat with Relationship Flow, where we talk all things relationships. So again, we thank you with Daryl and Camp and their wall backgrounds, you know, making things complicated in the conversation, but you know, it's all good. Again, thank you for rocking with us on live or on the replay, and you know, share some love in the comments, and we'll come back and share some love with you as well. Until next week, we'll see you then. Check us out in the group.
Bye, Neil.
Bye, Neil.
I'm not saying bye to her.